Hi guys, so is Boris Johnson finally running out of steam? In the House of Commons on Wednesday we saw a new tactic, if it was planned by Keir Starmer, or perhaps it was just a natural reaction to Boris Johnson's bluster. Johnson likes to play the fool. He likes to attack and defend with bluster. And while it has worked in the past, I think on Wednesday it seemed very much out of place. Now this follows a very sombre House of Commons on Monday, which saw tributes to the murdered MP David Amess. But the Prime Minister tried to bait the leader of the opposition into a back and forth here. But it seems to have backfired. Now what Starmer raised in Parliament was the issue of hate speech and support for terrorism online going unpunished, and how the heads of companies that run social media platforms should be held accountable if they refuse or fail to remove hateful content. Let's hear how it went down.
Mr Speaker, we're making progress. We've got the second reading committed to before Christmas. That is a good thing. And I think the Prime Minister is now committed to criminal sanctions. At the moment, they're a fallback position at the discretion of the Minister. They should be, in my view, on the face of the bill as the automatic default for the failure to act. Now, if we're making progress on that, then we're beginning to address some of the issues that were identified across the House on Monday. Can I turn to the report, the Commission for Countering Extremism, which was set up in the wake of the horrific Manchester bombings? 8 months ago, that Commission made recommendations to plug gaps in existing legislation and strategy, gaps that extremists have been able to exploit and are continuing to exploit. Yet Sir Mark Rowley, formerly head of our counter-terrorism policing, who led on those recommendations, said just this week, "I've had no feedback from the Home Office on their plans in relation to our report on the absence of a coherent legal framework to tackle hateful extremism." Given the seriousness of the matter and the clear need for action, why has the government not responded to this important work? And will the Prime Minister now commit to act swiftly on the Commission's recommendations?
Prime Minister.
Mr Speaker, the government, and my right honourable friend the Home Secretary, works with all parties to tackle violent extremism, and the UK has one of the strongest counter-terrorism and counter-extremism systems in the world, as a consequence of which we have foiled 31 terrorist plots since 2017. And I pay tribute to the work of Sir Mark Rowley, with whom I worked extremely closely while I was in London, and all those who are involved in foiling those terrorist plots. And I can tell you, Mr Speaker, that they will receive the complete support of this House and of this government, nor will we allow them to be released, or those who are convicted to be released early from prison, Mr Speaker, because that was one of the most important things this government passed and which that party opposed.
Keir Starmer.
Before Starmer responds, I don't know if you noticed, but even Boris Johnson's side did not cheer. They realise, no, you shouldn't be doing this. We shouldn't be having these types of debates. Look at what happened recently. Look at what we were saying on Monday. Look at the tributes on both sides. This is not the time or the place for this. But Boris Johnson can't help himself.
Really? After the week we've just had, I really don't want to descend to that kind of knockabout. Mr Speaker, either we take this seriously, and I'm taking my lead from those on the opposite benches on Monday and what they were saying about the need to tackle this. Either we take it seriously and go forward together, or we do a disservice to those that we pay tributes to.
Look at Boris Johnson. I want to show you once again.
Go forward together, or we do a disservice to those that we pay tributes to.
Boris Johnson waving his hand. Yeah, get on with it, get on with it. You know, complete and utter disrespect for what was said on Monday. I don't believe for a moment that what Boris Johnson said on Monday was from the heart. Boris Johnson only cares about himself. But you can see the faces on the front bench on the Tory side. Jacob Rees-Mogg with his head down, and the others looking quite embarrassed, ashamed of Boris Johnson's behaviour. But Boris Johnson, on his own there, wants to have his debate because he's a child. And he's been treated like a child, and he doesn't like that. He's a child with a tantrum. I want to have a fight. Please fight me. And Keir Starmer is not rising to that. Keir Starmer is acting like the child, the parent, I should say, or the adult in the room. Johnson is the child. And I think this, if it was a natural reaction or if it was planned, I don't know. But this has to be the approach to dealing with Boris Johnson. Johnson, sit down. Boris, sit down. You've had your say, okay? I'm not engaging with you. You know, the child is stamping their feet. Give me attention. The best way, I think, to respond to Boris Johnson is not to give him his attention. Just let him expel his anger and let him calm down. But you notice how Johnson starts off quietly and then gets up to a fever pitch. And then he attacks the other side. And it's good that Starmer is not responding to this in the way that Johnson wants.
There are clearly problems with the government's counter-extremism strategy. Internet users are increasingly likely to come across extremist content online.
So this is a very important issue, but I'm a little bit disappointed, to say the least, that in Parliament, the opposition is not raising issues like the heavy goods vehicle driver shortage. Why are they not doing that? They have raised it when they speak to the media, when they're interviewed for newspapers or whatever. But when it comes to Parliament, they seem to avoid talking about this issue. Why are they not attacking Boris Johnson and his government over this? The heavy goods vehicle driver shortage is creating chaos. It's damaging the economy. It's making people poorer. It's taking away people's choices. It's driving up prices of food and other items. Why is the opposition not attacking Johnson on this? Why aren't they demanding these things are fixed? Why aren't they presenting alternatives and saying, we want you to do this, why don't you do this? I've said before, the Labour Party need to present themselves as fixers. Boris Johnson has made this mess. Boris Johnson has broken the country. We're going to fix it. And I think exchanges in the House of Commons are useful because not a huge number of people watch them, but some of these clips are shared on social media, they go viral, and this is an opportunity for Keir Starmer to really attack the government, to show them as the failures that they are. And instead he doesn't do this. He holds back. Look, when it came to Boris Johnson and his bluster, yes, standing up and saying, basically saying, I'm the adult in the room here, you are the child, is a good approach. But you need to follow up with something else. You also have to follow up with attacks on what's happening in the country. Because people are happy to see you attack Boris Johnson, but you need also to provide something else. Let me know in the comment section, guys, what you think about all of this. As always, your comments are greatly appreciated. Thanks a lot. I want to say a big thank you to all of my patrons. You ensure that this channel continues to exist. I'm eternally grateful for all of your support. If you join Patreon, you will receive instant access to our Discord server, where we have both audio and video chats. You can chat with me and other patrons, where we discuss important and non-important issues. Becoming a patron per month costs about the same as a large coffee, so why not check it out?